The tale starts with a fight scene in an unknown place. Monsters were attacking. Some guys were killing those monsters with swords, and finally, they defeated the S-class giant Lord Manty's monster, as expected of the Knights of Heaven. People are cheering, Master Liu is so handsome. Liu said now the game values have finally stabilized. As you can see, this is a huge game. But unlike other games, this game is based on the real world. 20 years ago, countless portals to other worlds suddenly appeared. By the way, if you haven't checked out my other videos, please do so, and don't forget to like and subscribe. These portals lead to worlds filled with various magical creatures. They are called jungles. After speculative explorations of the jungles, it was concluded that the jungles, while dangerous, can't interact with the real world. You know the words, nothing in the jungle can we pass through the portal, including the magical items and powers that the explorers gain there. In the end, Shenchuang Technology Company claimed ownership over the jungles. With their cross-era technological capabilities, they transformed different worlds into a large-scale interactive game called Apocalypse Survival. In the game, after the player passes through a portal, he becomes a knight who has to survive in the other world. Although they might die in the jungle, people who are bored with ordinary life flood onto the game to experience something different. Nowadays, most of the world's population has experienced life in the other worlds. Some rich people have even hired some braves to live in the other world. It's no longer a game, it's a work of art. And Lin Tian is one of the creators of this work of art. Liu Dailong, a direct descendant of the high-ranking executive behind Shenchuang Technology Company, is also a high-level warrior in the game. He came and asked Lin why the Manty's monster's data reverted. Did you do that? This adjustment wasn't approved by the company's decision-makers who authorized you to do it. He said all of this for the sake of game balance. The game is currently learning too differently from the values he would initially set. This might make the game uncontrollable. Liu grabbed his shirt and asked, since when do you get to dictate the company's actions? The company naturally has its own reasons for doing things. You just have to follow. Lin fended off and said he is the person in charge of the entire game content. He had already adjusted the monster's design parameters, so he's afraid it won't be compatible if he modified them again. Liu narrowed his eyes and said, another man in that case. It's up to you to change it. He wants to see the results he wants, and if he doesn't get them, no one gets off work. Another guy said, I told you to not make random changes and just listen to what the superior says. The girl said, this guy really thinks he is the boss. He is just adding to our workload. Liu said, and if you don't want to do it, you can ask for a resignation. Lin in his mind, these people, their goal isn't to make a game that everyone loves at all. If I continue to work here. By that time, one girl whose name is Luo Yu said, Senior, don't be impulsive. Lin said he is actually burdened with a debt of millions of dollars. If I lose this high-paying job, I am afraid that I will be beaten to death by the collectors and be left to die on the street. But he realized one thing, staying in this company, is it really safe? He has to think about it. Liu said you need to know who you are, but the company wants you to do, and not, do anything you should not. Then in the next scene, Luo and Lin were working in the park. Luo said, thanks Senior for your advice. I finally understand where the problem lies. Lin said there is nothing wrong with your design itself. I am just making a few comments. Luo said don't say that. If it weren't for Senior help, she wouldn't have been able to get a foothold in the company. So she'd like to thank Senior for that. But it's really worrying that Senior was always fighting against the company like that. She was afraid they were going to do something bad to you. After all, it's rumored that the company has been using jungle to get rid of its rivals. It's really dangerous for Senior to frequent jungle like this. Lin said regarding that he would take care of it. Luo happily said, well, it's good that the Senior understands I will be heading back to work first. Lin thinks she's the only person in the company who he can talk to. She's the only light in his bleak world. I can't let go. Then he called Luo from behind. She asked Senior, what's the matter? This company and even the world may be about to undergo big changes. You have to be careful. Luo listens with teary eyes. But don't worry, I will definitely do everything in my power to protect you. After hearing this, Luo kissed him and said, Senior, I believe in you. I'm sure you will be able to protect me. Yes, the company hides a secret that can change the entire world, which he has discovered by accident. But this was a reminder for him. Leaving the company will not only get him hunted down by debt collectors, it will even make it easier for the company to kill him. So he was in a hole he couldn't get out of. Senior or letter, he must be completely prepared. Then the 76th meeting of the Shenchuang project started in the company. Many people and holograms of people were there. One holo guy said the red department has detected that the jungle is expanding. He is afraid they are very close to a big event, but there are still no signs of the jungle lord we covet. Liu said Lin Tian, who is in charge of the game's development, always overturns the values they purpose. I think he may have seen something. The unknown lady said yes, he already knows the real secret of the jungle. One guy said it's a secret that could turn the world upside down. People like him must not be allowed to know about it. Kill him before he can make preparations. That holo guy said to Lin Tian, I remember him. He is a very talented development engineer. In order to get him to work for the company, we had to go to great lengths to put his family in huge debt. Liu Dailong, it was your idea at that time. Now that he has become a nuisance, let the knights under your command take care of him. Liu said just kill him in the jungle. Lin said he had been waiting for this day for a long time. The next scene jumps to the jungle. What a miserable couple. I never expected that you, Lin, would actually use your gain privileges to create such a godly outfit for yourself. To think you'd make my knights face such heavy losses. If it wasn't for Luo, who forced you to make your presence known, it would have been a real challenge for me to find you. When did you start preparing? After you learned the secret? Or did you anticipate from the beginning that we'd get rid of you here sooner or later? But none of that matters anymore. Suddenly someone backstabbed him with a sword. Lin was shocked. She was Luo Yu. Why did it have to be you? 10 years ago, after an investigation by Shenchuang Technology, the jungle was determined to be beyond the real world. Human beings can coexist with it peacefully. However, the truth is that the jungle is quietly expanding. Within 10 years, the jungle will completely engulf the earth. This means that, in the future, all of mankind will have to enter the jungle to survive. Lin is the game architect responsible for transforming the jungle into a game suitable for human habitation. Although the top management tried their best to hide the truth of the matter, as the person in charge, he still knew about their plan. Because he knew, he understood that, sooner or later, he would be silenced by them, so he made preparations in advance and successfully managed to defeat them. Everything was going how he wanted, but he hadn't thought that the only person he trusted would betray him. Luo said, Senior, don't you get it yet? From the beginning, his life has been clearly planned out. From the death of his parents and his massive debt to this company that appeared just in time. It's all due to his amazing talent from the game development. The company had to come up with a plan. She was just the last guarantee for that plan. So if he wants to blame her, go ahead. Senior, you are so outstanding. Lin sadly said, so it turned out to be you. Liu said, okay, no need to tell him all that. Their mission this time is just killing him. But now, apparently, they don't have to do it themselves. Let's just leave him here. Let him get eaten by the monsters of his own design. Then suddenly some warning appears that the host's life-threatening condition detected. Jungle system is being activated. Jungle Lord identity is loading. Then loading succeeds. Suddenly he teleported with lightning speed like a flash. Lin ponders, did it work? Has he been teleported? Yes, that's it. He seems to have successfully misled the company's executives. Did they think that my armor was his trump card? This was his real trump card. Research revealed that the jungle was originally home to a powerful creature, the Jungle Lord. Even though it disappeared a long time ago, there is documented data that shows how much it was feared by all races. According to the research, when master-class creatures die in the jungle, their power still exists in some form of existence. This is a huge potential danger for apocalypse survival. Liu said he is trying to find a solution to that problem. He will find out the potential dangers as soon as possible and eliminate them completely. Lin thinks there are currently no clues about this power, but if anything is discovered, he will report to all the shareholders. This is the real escape route he has been saving for himself. The Jungle Lord power they've been looking for, and something that matches this power. Then a warning message box pops up called System Mission Survival. In that box, it was written, your presence has attracted the attention of the jungle monsters. You're about to be attacked by them. Your mission is to survive the jungle monsters hunt. The reward for completing this mission is 1,000 jungle points. Lin said the enemies are here already. This is the dark forest, so the monsters that live here are spectral wolves. Then the fight started. Thanks to the passive skill, Jungle Instinct, he can sense malicious intentions and react instinctively. A lot of wolves came, those are Spectral Wolf Level 1. A low-level monster that lives in the jungle. Average combat strength and usually likes to hunt in packs. Lin ponders, fortunately, they're all low-level monsters, and he has got enough skills, besides the passive skill Jungle Instinct. He also has an attack skill called Flash. Then he started to attack so fast. His Jungle Instinct has doubled his senses, and the Flash has enhanced his mobility. That combination works pretty well. Combined with his knowledge of the jungle, the man-eater flower without an external object to activate it remains in a deep state of sleep. Once you step on it, it's very difficult to escape it. He killed them all and said it was not that hard to kill them all. He thinks that's all. His stamina is almost depleted, but he has advanced to level 3. He thinks he's more at home in the jungle than in human society. Then he suddenly remembered that the system hadn't alerted him about the mission's completion yet. Could it be that the threat hasn't been eliminated yet? And one monster suddenly appeared. He looked behind, and it was a spectral wolf lord level 6. The scary monster stands in front of Lin. According to what he remembers, the probability of a low-level lord monster appearing here is less than 1%. He can't believe he ran into one. The level gap between them is so great that he can feel the pressure just by standing there. The monster started to attack, and he was trying to dodge. His stamina is almost at its limit. The monster was so fast, and he beat him hard and kept attacking, he couldn't even defend himself. He got beaten badly. He ponders, is he really going to die there? He pushed himself that no, he can't die there. He has survived all of the company's attempts to kill him, but he has to get revenge on those guys who manipulated his life. Especially that woman Luo. Then the flashback starts, Luo says Senior. She has gone through the entire structure of the game, but there still seems to be some errors running. What is going on? Lin said that's what makes the jungle so different. It's not like the games they've created in the past. Your framework needs to take more possibilities into account instead of operating according to a rigid formula. Because the jungle is alive. Back to the present, he said yes, the jungle is alive. He can't predict everything that happens accurately. Just like Luo's betrayal and the sudden appearance of the spectral wolf lord, he must do it. He must live. That's the only way for him to take revenge. He was struggling. He was defending himself continuously. He tried to get far away from that monster. He ran fast. That monster keeps chasing him with a blood tracking ability. Yes, a level 6 spectral wolf lord has the ability to track blood. There's absolutely no way to avoid its tracking by simply running away. He pondered what else he could do in his situation. Man eating flowers, exploding berries, mist toxin mushrooms. All of them are useless, they won't work against a level 6 spectral wolf lord. He saw a huge tree and thought a tree of this size could it be? There's a way out. This is it. He tried to go up. And at that time another dominant lord was found in that forest, the stalagmite bear, lord level 7. Lin climbed to the top of the tree and watched those two lord monsters start fighting. The fight was very intense. He can finally breathe a sigh of relief. He has got to get out of there quickly while they fight each other. Bear grabbed the wolf's jaw and tried to tear it. Lin wonders if will he fail the mission if he leaves now. He was so focused on escaping that he almost forgot about the mission. His presence has attracted the attention of the jungle monster. That stalagmite bear was provoked because of my actions, so it shouldn't be included in the mission. Then the only one left is the spectral wolf lord. He just needs to wait for a while. The stalagmite bear's level 7, and since that is a solitary lord, it should be even stronger anyway. It shouldn't take it too long to kill the spectral wolf lord. Then after some time, a message box appears that the mission has been completed. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, and the skill panel has been activated. System reward, Jungle Point 1000. Skill can be upgraded through Jungle Points. As he expected, his mission was marked complete as soon as the spectral wolf lord died. In addition to Jungle Points, the skill panel was also activated. Then appeared all the details about skills. To study that carefully, he must find a safe place. He got suddenly attacked by that level 7 Lord Bear. Lin said this guy is not something he can deal with right now. He have to run away quickly. Bear was destroying everything, attacking him and cutting off his wings. He tried to escape, he ran away and hid behind a tree. That stupid bear doesn't seem to want to let him go. He can't go on like that. One hit from that stalagmite and he's done for. Not good. For now, he can only look for an opportunity within those few new skills. That stupid bear was far more troublesome than that look. With its rough skin and thick flesh, poison attacks may not be effective on it, and he's afraid that's impossible to avoid it with stealth due to that earth attribute perception. Unfortunately, he only has enough skill points to activate 2 skills. As for the flying skill, although that's useless in real battle, it might help him escape now, but that stupid bear just cut off his wings. They won't heal right away. That's obviously impossible for him to fly in that situation. That bear was not stopping and destroyed that tree. He again started running. Once he runs out of stamina, he will definitely die. There's nothing he can do about it. The only thing he can do is activate Monster Will. He activated that, and it shows he has mastered the skill of Monster Will. Then he attacked that stupid bear with Flash X99. That bear lord died. Finally, the problem is solved. But something happened. Then he got a sudden severe headache and vibration. He couldn't bear that pain. Is that a remnant of the Jungle Lord's consciousness? The chapter starts with the Shenchuang Technology Company. Liu said Lin Tian has been executed by us in the jungle. From now on, Luo Yu will officially take over his position and will be responsible for the development of Apocalypse survival. Hologai said to Luo he hoped she wouldn't let them down, and he asked if there was any news about the Jungle Lord. Luo said previous research has estimated that in the history of the jungle, high-level monsters were called masters. They can be killed, but their will and strength will remain the same. It will be inherited again from some kind of reincarnation. At the same time, the successor also bears the risk of being devoured by the will of the monster. Hologai said that means this power is rather dangerous. She said yes, without possessing stronger spiritual power to fight against it, you'll be devoured even if you gain that dominant power. Hologai said in any case, if humans want to enter the jungle, they must control this power. You must know that high risks are often accompanied by great benefits. Go for it. She said she would definitely find the power of the Jungle Lord for the company. The scene goes to the jungle. Lin was in difficulties. He pondered, is this the remaining consciousness of the Jungle Lord? That's invading his mind. He'll probably become a killing monster if he loses. He thought he absolutely couldn't lose to it. He had to live to avenge them. He tried his best with his destructive power. He gives damage to his spirit. Finally, he got rid of the side effects. Although the destructive power of this skill is amazing, the damage it causes to his spirit is too much. A new evolutionary form has also been unlocked, and although it's still a monster body, it retains more human traits while maintaining a human will. But he'll have to find a way to start the Helen Butterfly Elf program in order to evolve into a full-fledged monster in the future. A past discussion between Lin and the team. Helen Butterfly Elves are a race of light-attributed elves in the jungle and have very excellent support skills. Liu said that the Helen Butterfly race isn't very powerful, and its impact on the game is almost nothing. Besides, entering their domain, the Labyrinth Valley, is really dangerous, so why waste time on them? They've got more important things to do. Lin said the game lacks a creature that can serve as a guide NPC, and Helen Butterfly Elf is undoubtedly the perfect fit. Liu said it's not like a must-have design. Hologuys said there's no need for this argument. Lin Tian is in charge of the game, and he makes all the decisions. Liu Daolong, you have always been in charge of combat explorations, so if you don't want to do it, get something else to do it. Liu said then let Luo Feng from the second team do it. He would like this kind of mission. At present, Lin thought Helen Butterfly Elf's power could enhance his spiritual power, and if the contract can be successfully concluded, there will be no limit to my monster will. Previously, he wanted to use the company's power to open the entrance to the Helen Butterfly Elves. Since then, the Helen Butterfly Elf program has been handed over to Luo Feng of the second team. It's a pity that Liu didn't take this mission seriously, so it hasn't been taken down. If he remembers correctly, one of the guys who often targeted me was from the same team. If he wants to deal with them, he has to find a way to unlock other general skills first. He saw the missions and wondered that time was even divided into main missions and side missions. Some of these side missions are simple, but the rewards were too small. The more risky a mission is, the higher its rewards are. The rewards are calculated based on the simplicity of the mission. The monster mode unlocked in the rewards of the main mission looks quite intriguing. Then Lin got ready to complete a few daily missions and unlock a couple of life-saving skills first. Then he started those missions. He helped the Mushroom Clan finish their construction, and the enthusiastic mushrooms invited him to taste their poop. In the spider lair, he was pestered by a big-breasted female spider monster who seemed to want to do something wrong. Then he was taking care of bird eggs on a cliff, fighting off a venomous snake monster while being pecked on the head by a baby buzzard that had broken out of its shell. After completing many missions, he got tired, but finally, he got 700 points, and he could unlock a skill. He checked the skills list. Attach poison, stealth, and flight. He is confused about which of these three is better. There's a new mission called Hunting Intruders pop up. He thought, does that mean other players? He decided to go down the monster path, and he'll completely abandon his identity as a human being. It was night in the jungle, and its silence was broken only by the sounds of a battle coming from some distance away. The culprits were a group of hunters who were beating a poor goblin. Their goal was to find the entrance to the labyrinth because only by entering the center of the valley and getting the secret key, it was possible to enter the real territory of Helen Butterfly Fairies. Having defeated one goblin, they decided that it wasn't as scary as the rumors said. However, that wasn't what made the hunters excited and anticipating success. By the way, if you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, please be sure to catch up on those first. Also, don't forget to subscribe. What they were most interested in was what was inside the area, namely Fern Tree Realm. According to the rumors, it was an incredibly beautiful place that hid mysteries and secrets. It was in one of the advertisements on the forum that after opening the road to the valley and obtaining the secret key, a huge reward was given. They expected it to be very difficult and in no way expected to encounter only a few low-level monsters at the entrance. It felt like this time, they could get a huge profit without any risks. However, as it turned out a moment later, their carefree adventure was not as safe as they thought. An arrow instantly pierced through the head of the too relaxed leader of their group. From the surprise and the sight of blood splattering everywhere, the rest of the group was horrified. It happened too quickly for the hunters to realize what was going on. The culprit was a goblin with a bow and a devilish smile on his face. But this time he was far from alone. And no, it wasn't even 3 of them. There was a whole army of them here. A few goblins didn't pose much of a threat to the hunters, but dealing with hundreds of armed goblins was a different matter. The end of such an encounter was obvious. Despite all the resistance of the hunters, the goblins didn't leave them a single chance. Having defended their territories and restored justice, the goblins began to collect trophies from the hunters. Collecting interesting things from dead adventurers was probably their favorite pastime, but their peaceful pastime didn't last long. Suddenly, a wall of fire surrounded them, trapping them. Attempts to escape from this hell were unsuccessful. This was true magic power. This time, the goblins faced a truly powerful opponent. It was far from the same loser hunters they had defeated. This time, they were truly masters of their craft. It was a team of professional hunters, led by Berserker Luo Feng. They were also interested in the forum mission, though they had sent them here from the game's main development office. Taking advantage of the few groups of amateurs who had also come to try their luck at the S-rank mission, they simply used them as bait, since they had managed to lure the monsters out without much effort. The only thing left to do was to finish them off. In the very next instant, an arrow that glowed with a bright golden light soared into the air. Suddenly, it split into hundreds of other arrows, and a deadly rain of arrows rained down straight towards the goblins. But it wasn't just the arrows that were a threat to them. The other hunters also rushed into battle. Our hero watched from the sidelines. Even experienced hunters had no chance to notice him because he was in stealth mode. In his opinion, using the rookie hunters as bait wasn't a bad strategy, but it was too cheap for him. Unfortunately, he looked too much like a monster now, and it wasn't safe for him to enter human cities. After all, the task of finding intruders could easily be accomplished this way. Attacking innocent bystanders was not Lin Tine's style. However, the guys from this team were not like that at all. They were the ones who were screwing over researchers from the same company just to compete for resources. In the past, our hero had often had to deal with this sort of thing, but each time, the company management turned a blind eye to it and said that it was just an accident. Our hero knew the truth and didn't want to put up with such injustice. He tried to tell Liu Dailong to stop hiring hunters with criminal backgrounds and put an end to these senseless killings. However, his words were powerless against Liu Dailong's rotten brain, who only smiled wryly in response. He pretended not to understand what he was talking about and advised Lin Chen not to poke his nose where it didn't belong. He even suggested our hero call the police if he thought they were criminals. To make a long story short, this team was a bunch of trash who had also participated in the siege and suppression of himself before he was treacherously killed. That was why he had no qualms about killing them. They even deserved it. But Lin Qian still had a big problem in front of him in eliminating them. The difference in strength between them was still very large. They had plenty of strong people in their team, whose level even reached 13. But the biggest danger was their leader Luo Feng, a level 15 berserker. All of them were criminals who were killed without hesitation. For the past few days, our hero had been following the strategy of leveling up the fastest. But even so, he was still only at level 10. And since using the monster's will was out of the question, it was still too dangerous for him to deal with so many people surpassing his level. Luckily, after completing the missions, he had some points, thanks to which he unlocked the stealth function. It was thanks to this feature that he was able to sneak up on them unnoticed and start thinking up a plan of action. Moreover, the rewards from the previous daily missions go beyond jungle points. The rest of the battle is entirely up to him. And of course, from the cute and joyful mushroom, who was ready to help him. High in the sky above the jungle, a bird was soaring in the sky. It was thanks to it that one of the group members could observe everything from the air. Unfortunately for them, at the moment, more than 70% of the area was covered in fog, making it very difficult for her spirit pet to see clearly. Hearing this, Luo Feng told her to order her spirit pet to go lower and investigate everything carefully. The girl immediately discarded this idea, because if he was near the ground, he would easily fall within the range of the monster's attacks. However, the big guy didn't care about that at all. He immediately put her in front of a choice. Either she seeks away as he tells her, or she dies. The girl had no choice, so she did as he told her. The consequences were not long in coming. An arrow flew out of the mist at great speed and instantly struck her spirit pet. The girl immediately coughed up blood. The attack inflicted on her pet was directly affecting her as well. However, Luo Feng was only concerned about whether she was able to see anything. From his look, one could easily tell that if he failed, he was ready to get rid of her at the same moment. Fortunately, the girl was lucky and managed to see the layout of the valley. This was great news for the group. Luo Feng wasn't going to waste a second and informed everyone that they were immediately going to the valley. After a while, the group of hunters reached some sort of cave. It was unknown if this was the route they were looking for. However, one thing was certain, it stank very badly. The smell was so strong that the whole group had to cover their noses with their hands. The reason for this was the huge piles of monster poop that were scattered all over the cave. The girl who had checked the route before was surprised by this because when she saw this place for the first time, there was no such thing. Chung Jai, the archer, noted that the poop looked fresh, which meant that it had been installed recently. The mage girl in their group, named Sarah, immediately suggested changing the route and taking a different path. Luo Feng, on the other hand, had a different opinion on the matter. If the jungle monster was deliberately trying to force them to choose a different path, then most likely the other path was more risky. That was why he decided to keep moving on this one. He immediately ordered the others to clear the road for him. As it turned out, Lin Tian had been watching them the entire time. Despite his expectations, the group of hunters continued to advance. It looked like his trap was too obvious. The plan wasn't working. However, that wasn't a problem since he could still take it slowly. It was time to proceed to Plan B. The cute mushroom sitting on his shoulder was also ready to put up its best effort. Speaking of mushrooms, they lived in clans. They could be found absolutely everywhere in the jungle. Although they looked harmless, they were very useful to the jungle. Their initial skill, growth, allows them to freely travel underground and easily help our hero to explore the valley. Lin Chen had to go through a lot of trouble to increase his popularity and get the mushrooms to be so favorable to him. He even ate the mushroom feast they prepared for him. After gaining the deep friendship and favor of their king, he received help from dozens of mushroom tribes, including the mushroom he had on his shoulder. There were several kinds of mushrooms in total. The first was the purifying one, whose function was to purify the air of odors. The other kind of mushrooms were stink mushrooms. They were huge in size and could emit unpleasant substances and odors. This was the mushroom that our hero used. Now it was time for the official battle. It was time to hunt. And for a successful hunt, he had everything ready. The key role was to be played by excitement mushrooms, which specialized in giving off a pungent odor to drive monsters crazy. Even a single mushroom could drive a pack of monsters crazy, and a group of them could drive a small area of the jungle into madness. As soon as the spirit wolves smelled this odor, they immediately just broke off the chain and rushed in search of any living prey. Soon a group of hunters managed to pass this poop cave. Even though they didn't have to fight, they still didn't look very good. There were many complaints. However, Luo Feng immediately ordered everyone to shut up, because according to the map, it should have been safe after this area. However, that was only supposed to be the case. In fact, at the very next moment, one of the guys pointed at something in front of him in bewilderment. It was a small light that was visible from behind a bush, but the guy was experienced enough to know what it meant. There was a look of horror on his face. In the next moment, he started to run away from the pack of furious spirit wolves with panicked screams. The safe zone mentioned on the map was not so safe anymore. But even in such a situation, Luo Feng was not confused. In his opinion, these were just a few low-level monsters that must have accidentally gotten here. There was no need to worry. However, after a moment, it turned out that there were more wolves than they thought. Dozens of spirit wolves began to appear from the forest. This could already be a problem. Moreover, there were more than just wolves among the monsters that had appeared. This was very strange. The hunters only had one question. Why were all kinds of monsters gathering here and attacking them? But Luo Feng already knew the answer to this question. This couldn't happen by itself, from which it could be deduced that someone had clearly trapped them. Things were getting very bad. There were too many monsters. Realizing that they couldn't cope, Luo Feng ordered everyone to retreat. The hunters desperately started trying to escape. Few managed to do so, as the monsters had killed most of the group in the meantime. However, those who managed to escape were also in for a surprise. Suddenly, a huge mushroom appeared in the air, which was approaching the ground at a great speed. Unfortunately, it didn't fall on top of them and crush them. The purple pheromones it released scared the monsters and made them run away in panic. The surviving hunters were very surprised by this. At one point, they even thought they had been saved. But that was far from the case. In the next moment, a silhouette of a man appeared in the fog, and then they heard a voice asking them if they remembered him. Everyone present froze in place from shock. They knew that voice very well. There was a smile on our hero's face that was even more like a villainous smile. In any case, he was glad. Very happy that he could finally get his revenge. Lynchen himself appeared in front of them, and he had purposely removed his mask so that they would recognize him well. Despite his new appearance and his changed traits, the man called Lynchen was still recognizable in him. The hunters were shocked to see him alive and realize what a dangerous situation they were in. They immediately started to justify themselves, saying that it was not their own idea to kill him, and it was the company's fault. It was the company that made them do it. They begged for mercy so pitifully that Lin Chan even pretended to believe them for a second that it was just their job. But they soon signed their own death warrant when they decided that his hesitation was their chance to attack. And the rest of the group rushed at our hero, shouting, "Go to hell, you monster!" How naive these idiots were. With their actions, they signed their own death sentence. Even if before they said that it was just a job, with their actions they showed that it was a lie. One moment he leaped like lightning between the silhouettes of the attackers, killing them all instantly. Those weaklings didn't stand a chance. And now that they were lying in the mud, no personal grudge against our hero could help them. Immediately after their elimination, there was a notification from the system regarding the progress in the mission of hunting intruders. Thanks to the killing of these 4 hunters, he has already completed 40% of the mission and has already received an intermediate reward of 400 jungle points. In addition to jungle points, Lin Chan had also raised his level to 11, and looking at the scattered bodies, he realized that he was wrong when he thought he would hesitate when he had to kill people. Now he was sure that he no longer had any feeling that he belonged to the human race. And now, thanks to the points he received, he was able to accumulate 500 points in total. However, it still wasn't enough. It was a real pain in the ass to accumulate those points, and they still weren't enough to unlock the flying skill. Still, it was good that he had some useful allies like these mushrooms. With their help, he was able to not only successfully wear hunters down, but also divide them internally. Now it was time to return to the Darkstone Forest again because the General Goblin was a bit of a handful. It was time to get to Plan C. Meanwhile, in the Darkstone Forest, one of the goblins was on his way to report to his general. His news was very urgent. A lot of hairless monkeys, so-called humans, had come and killed all the brothers outside the valley and broke in. Such news did not please the goblin general. Once again, he was distracted from his rest by those annoying humans. Again, they came from behind the Helen Butterfly clan. It was time to deal with them himself. After all, the king's plan is not yet complete, and they can't let those hairless monkeys get close to the eucalyptus tree. The entire goblin army must follow him and kill all the intruders. Meanwhile, the surviving remnants of Luo Feng's group returned to their camp. Their leader Luo Feng himself was furious at the failed raid, and he knew who to direct his rage at. He threw all the blame for the failed raid and their heavy losses on the boy who was in charge of scouting and controlling the eagle. Luo Feng was sure that all their problems were because he had poorly scouted the route and pointed out a dangerous road to them. That was something he wasn't going to forgive. But the boy in all this didn't see his fault at all. He sobbed and assured him that everything was fine with the route map, and he didn't know what had gone wrong. It was probably just that the monsters had gotten smarter and had their own strategy and plans to lure and kill the hunters. Despite all his excuses to Luo Feng, it sounded like nonsense that he was not going to believe. Instead, he wanted to make him pay for all the mistakes that led to the deaths of his team members. But luckily for the boy, he had a very beautiful sister who stood up for him in front of Luo Feng and convinced him that it was not worth killing and hurting her only little brother just because he had made a mistake once. It was only because of her and the fact that she was the leader of the mages in his group and had made many sacrifices for the sake of their group that Luo Feng agreed to spare him. But he warned that if it wasn't for her, he would definitely gouge his eyes out this time, so he should try harder next time. Or even his sister wouldn't be able to save him from his anger. The frightened boy was even grateful to the captain for that, because not many people got a second chance from him. Then he went to rest, not alone, and ordered the rest of the group to rest today to regain physical strength to depart again tomorrow. Some of his men could not resist talking about their commander's actions. To be continued, it was obvious to everyone that it was his mistake that had caused the losses, but no one dared to tell him openly. Instead, someone said quite loudly that Sarah had taken it up again today. Of course, she heard them and was quite annoyed by their behavior because her ex-boyfriend had heard them and it could turn out very badly. He was sitting nearby, cleaning his bow after the battle. His face was darker than night, and he could barely restrain himself from dealing with that bastard Luo Feng whom he hated so much. Meanwhile, under invisibility, Lin Tian was watching everything happening in the hunter's camp from above. He remembered that when he was still working for the company, he had looked at the files of Mage Sarah and Archer Chang. At that time it said that they were a couple, but now it seemed to have changed. It was probably because Chang had committed some crime and had to hide in the jungle, joining Luo Feng's gang of thug hunters. After the jungle was taken over by Shen Kuang technology, the government's jungle bill was never implemented, making the jungle and the world of the game, jungle survival, impossible. A great place for all kinds of criminals to escape punishment for their deeds. So the world of the game was filled with all kinds of bastards, who because of their violent nature, simply could not live in a normal world. They felt free to live here. After all, the law of the jungle was even more cruel than those criminals themselves. Lin Tian looked closely at this fellow Chang, remembering how pathetic he was, and was clearly a cuckold. Sarah was too free-spirited, and this fact our hero was going to use. The fact that Chang clearly hated Luo Feng and was now poisoning his arrows was very beneficial to Lin Tian. A little time passed, and the moon rose high above the camp of hunters who were carelessly resting and having fun. It was midnight. The bastards sitting around the campfire were discussing what was happening in the neighboring tent and laughing without embarrassment. Meanwhile, Chang was lying far away from them, and obviously, he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. He was too full of hatred. But that was not all. A couple of mushrooms quietly crept up to him, which began to emit hallucinogenic pheromones. Under their influence, Chang immediately began to imagine everything in the most vivid colors. Luo Feng and Sarah just could not bear it. But the hallucinations did not stop. Sarah, the one he loved and hated so much at the same time, kept appearing in front of his eyes, who was now in the arms of another. 2 cheerful mushrooms were responsible for all these hallucinations. One of them transmitted distant sounds and amplified them, and the second affected the victim's psyche and prevented her from distinguishing between reality and illusion. Our hero's plan was cunning and simple at the same time. Under the influence of these mushrooms, Chang had to do something stupid and do something that, in a normal state, he would never dare to do. And now Chang had finally lost his mind and was heading straight towards Luo Feng's tent. Just in time, on the other side, an army of goblins led by their general, Gull, was approaching, kicking up dust. However, the goblins had one major disadvantage, their stupidity. Even though Lin Tian showed them and explained the way, They were still too slow and could not arrive on time. Our hero's plan was to have all the actors arrive and wound one another, and then he himself would appear and finish them all off in one fell swoop. In Lin Tian's opinion, it was just perfect. And while everything went according to plan, Chang came closer and closer to the tent, and our hero mentally encouraged him to kill them as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the other hunters didn't understand what he was going to do. Is he really going to talk to the captain? But then why would he have his bow at the ready? Shang himself froze in front of the entrance to the tent. It seemed to him that there was the source of all the hall and darkness in this world. Fear awoke inside him, which was even stronger than his jealousy and thirst for revenge. He didn't understand what was wrong with him. How could he even dare to come here with the intention of killing the captain? Fear told him that he would simply be killed for it. That's when Lin Tian's plan went awry. All because of this scared asshole who was incapable of doing anything. As it turns out, this Chang had a very high level of mental toughness. And now our hero will have to come up with something else. Luo Feng saw that Chang was approaching his tent, but he knew very well what a coward he was, laughing at his indecision. Even though he was her ex-boyfriend, Sarah was worried about him and asked him not to laugh at him. And Luo Feng hurriedly assured her that he would not do anything to him, as long as he did not cause trouble and did not openly oppose him, as Chang was a talented guy and very useful to the group. This option suited Sarah, and she paid attention to Luo Feng's wound, which still hadn't completely healed. It turned out that the weapon that was used was enchanted, so it was not an easy task to heal it. Sarah was also involved in that battle, and almost died. Luo Feng also still couldn't forget that battle. At that time, he thought it was just another ambush ordered by the company, but it turned out not to be so. The one they attacked was very intimidating in the fight. It was Lin Tian himself. Then he surprised Luo Feng by possessing the martial arts of a warrior, the stamina of a magician, and the agility of an assassin at the same time. Luo Feng had never met anyone like him before. Recalling how he worked for the company, he said that at first he was just an ordinary mercenary and pretended to be weak to avoid being sent on difficult missions. Unfortunately, he was assigned to one of the 9 groups to ambush Lin Tian. The fate of those groups was very unenviable. Only his group survived. But still, he was sure that it was fortunate that the mighty warrior Lin Tian had died. Otherwise, he would have become the most powerful creature in the jungle, and a very difficult opponent. Meanwhile, Lin Tian was the liveliest of the living and watched from above as Chang froze in place. And judging by what an indecisive coward he was, it was immediately clear why the girl had abandoned him. Even though this perfect plan to pit the hunters against each other had failed, it didn't really matter. The ghoul army would soon arrive at the camp, and they would definitely deal with those assholes. In the end, except for the bad luck with Chang, the operation could be considered a success. Soon, the shout of the sentries swept over the camp. Enemy attack. Luo Feng, who had only recently fallen asleep, jumped out of bed without realizing what was happening. As soon as he came out of the tent, he saw that the battle was already in full force. Goblins were already everywhere. He and Sarah immediately joined the fight, but he still didn't understand what was going on and why hadn't anyone raised the alarm earlier. Why such a mess in the ranks and formation of the hunters? What happened to the alert system for monsters approaching? Had it really been destroyed by the goblins? He had no idea that it was the work of the mushrooms. They had removed all the low-grade gems that were used by the hunters to create a magic circle around the camp to warn them of approaching monsters. Luo Feng had no idea how a stupid thing like a goblin could think of destroying the magic circle first before attacking. While Luo Feng was in shock and couldn't find answers to his questions, Ghoul Goblin General ordered all the other goblins to get out of his way. He was going to quickly finish off this hairless monkey Luo Feng in one blow. But the experienced hunter wasn't going to die so easily. So he used his axe to repel the attack. It was a battle between 2 berserkers who relied on brute force. But in strength, the Goblin General had a clear advantage, and Luo Feng quickly sensed this as his arms began to weaken and shake from the exertion. General Ghoul was not going to drag out the battle and swung once more to finish off his opponent. But Luo Feng was not going to fight a strong opponent. He had long forgotten what honor was and was willing to do anything to save his own skin. As he ran away, he shouted to the other hunters to help him and shoot the monster with their bows. However, the fighting hunters had bad news for him. The archer was not among them. Chang had left the camp just a few minutes before the attack. Luo Feng was still trying to escape from goal and was just furious that Chang dared to abandon the team. So he opened the system window to report this rascal's betrayal of the company. Meanwhile, Chang himself was nearby and watched the battle in the camp. Even he was surprised at how quickly the camp was attacked, but he was clearly not going to help them. He felt that after Sarah had left him, he had every right to do the same to them. Now what was happening there had nothing to do with him. Let those bastards burn alive. They deserved it, he thought. Chang decided it wasn't worth staying there for long and hurried to get away. But as soon as he entered the forest, he began to be pursued by the dark figure of our hero, who realized that Chang's level was still a bit high, as it was 2 more than his. However, the difference in level could be offset by cunning and surprise. Unfortunately, Chang's high level had unlocked one very useful passive skill, keen senses. Even before Lin Tian attacked, Chang sensed the monster's presence and became wary. Now he wouldn't be caught off guard. Deep within a dark forest, Chang sensed danger approaching. He quickly fired an arrow, but it exploded against a fake target. Before he could react, Lin attacked, and Chang defended himself with his bow. Chang tried to distract Lin from a distance, but Lin's agility proved too swift. The two continued to clash, with Lin claiming to have assassin-like skills. He pushed back, and he used the stealth skill and disappeared. Chang wondered if Lin was relying on stealth to ambush him. Confusion mounted as Chang prepared an enchanted arrow, unsure if his foe was human or something else entirely. He demanded Lin reveal himself and fired the arrow, but Lin caught it. Taunting Chang, Lin said with an evil smile, "Is my stealth no longer working?" And he broke the arrow, "But you still don't stand a chance." Before Chang could retort, toxic gases engulfed them, emanating from sinister mist toxin mushrooms. Those mushrooms are capable of emitting light toxins. They invade the body through the respiratory tract. Normally, the toxin can be broken down by the body, but it can explode inside the body during instances of strenuous exercise. The poison weakened Chang, who struggled to maintain composure. Assessing the situation, Chang realized the toxin was debilitating, but not deadly. Confident in an antidote he possessed, Lin said he is still maintaining his sanity. He's really worthy of his position as an elite team leader. Don't expect me to fight you fair. Then all the mushrooms started dancing by saying mushroom mushrooms, then heavily attacked him with their poison. He just could not bear those toxic poisons. Lin said to mushrooms, "Nice work. We can end him now," and they were about to kill him. Suddenly, he woke up and attacked a lot of arrows. He shouted, "I'm going to kill you, monster." Lin said, "Even with your advanced antidote potion backing you up, under the influence of so many mixed toxins, the strength and accuracy of your arrows are still far from perfect. This level of attack is no longer effective." Then he vanished with speed. He cut him from the middle of the body and said, "Rest in peace, my enemy." While killing him, Chang realized he was Lin Tian. Then Lin got an alert. He leveled up to level 12 and got another 100 jungle points as a reward, so he can use them to unlock. Someone said to Captain, "Chang Jai is dead." Yuo said, "Sure enough, someone wreaked havoc and took advantage of the opportunity to kill our isolated team member. Everything is still under my control. Goblins were attacking them." One said, "Sarah, send us away." She started teleportation. At that time, a magic teleportation circle mark appeared at where Lin was standing. Lin was confused. Was that a bait to lure him out? Luo's group teleported, and they saw Lin standing in front of them without revealing identity. Luo, shocked, said, "It's a monster. How could that be?" In this game, at the same level, monsters tend to be slightly stronger and bigger than humans. But compared with monsters, humans have one great advantage, that is, they are good at scheming, grouping, and setting traps. This also made it possible for humans to kill monsters up to 10 levels higher than themselves, which has always been their unique advantage. But now there's a monster using human tactics to hunt humans. Luo was stressed by seeing that human-like monster and said, "A monster with human-level intelligence. How is that possible?" Luo Feng, "Don't you remember me?" Lin asked, unrevealing his true identity. Seeing Lin Tian, Luo was shocked and tensed. He's the monster who wiped out the 3rd and 4th teams. It's him. He's still alive. He's not dead yet. He's turned into a real jungle monster. Everyone was terrified of that situation. One of them said he doesn't want to be here. Luo said, "Don't be frightened by him." Although he doesn't know what method he used to inhabit a monster's body. His level isn't that high now. He's just a level 12 monster. Lin thought there were too many of them. Even if all the mushrooms were to participate in the battle, they might not be able to win, and his mushroom trump card will also be exposed. With the help of the monster's will, he may have a chance to win, but he doesn't think he'll be able to regain his will this time. They were all ready to fight with Lin. Luo said he is no longer the human warrior he was before. He's a weak monster who hides in the shadows and relies on tricks. Too bad I wasn't able to kill you before. This time I'll have my mage bind your soul before I kill you. I won't let you escape again. By listening to that, Lin laughed so hard like an evil. Did he say kill me? Don't be ridiculous. Liu Daolang led 7 company teams, but they still couldn't defeat me head-on. Do you guys really think you can do it? All the other guys started panicking, thinking that he's going to kill them. Luo said to them, what a bunch of losers. Luo started the attack by jumping using the combat skill mountain splitting, while saying you're just a low-level monster. Lin opened the display and entered the skill flight. Then he flew up like a rocket, then that area got fully covered with dust, so that No couldn't able to see clearly. They thought, is he dead? After some seconds they saw in the sky he was flying. Now Lin successfully mastered the skill of flight. After flying up he said, human warriors, welcome to my world. The jungle, welcome your oncoming death. Those people started shooting him down. Lin said, you think you can hit me from that distance? From behind, Sarah set everybody out of the way, and she used magic dazzling light array spell to shoot him. Lin was amazed and said being able to cast tracking magic at such a distance. You're really worthy of the leader of the mages. All those spells started attacking him wherever he went with speed, but that speed is still within his range of agility, so he easily dodged those. Then Luo threw his weapon at him. It went so fast that Lin dodged that but slightly touched his chest. Lin said, is the throwing ability of a level 15 warrior that terrifying? Luo got frustrated and said, damn it. He still couldn't get him. He said the next time we meet, he'll definitely kill him. Lin showed him his middle finger and flew away. Now Sarah lost her energy. One said team leader Sarah's teleportation consumes too much energy. She can't cast anything else. Of the team, the only one capable of tracking a flying invisible target is Captain Cheng, but he's already dead. Luo asked with anger, bunch of losers, what use do you have? Sarah said, don't worry about it. He's been affected by her dazzling array spell. With her magical aura on him, she can track him down. He must cross the valley, avoid the hordes of monsters, along with the goblin guards, before entering the tree realm. The key to the tree realm isn't a physical object, but an altar hidden under the eucalyptus tree, which requires a large amount of magic power to unlock. The company has failed to find the altar location, even after several attempts. So Lin's plan was to have Luo Feng and the goblins fight each other to the death to reap the rewards and advance to level 15 before taking his time to find it. Lin didn't expect Luo Feng, who looks like a stupid guy, to be so cunning. He set up a marking spell on his team members to identify their opponents. It spoiled my plans. Although he was able to escape by unlocking the flight skill, now that his plan to kill both sides couldn't be accomplished, the goblin guards will return to the eucalyptus tree, so there's no way for me to find the altar. Lin was sure he definitely got marked by that image in the chaos back there. Since they left a mark on me, I might as well take advantage of this opportunity. If Luo Feng abandons the expedition and goes back to the company to report that Lin's still alive, he'll be in trouble. Luo Gang was discussing about Lin that it was so strange, he was clearly dead. How did he turn into a Encum monster back to life? They should abandon the expedition immediately and report his whereabouts to the company. That's right, let the company handle it. They're definitely no match for him. That guy is a devil. Who knows what else he's got up his sleeve? Luo barely managed to survive last time. He doesn't want to fight him again. Luo thought should he report it to Liu Daolong. Then he got a flashback. As Liu told him, strength is the basic law of the jungle. It's the value of your continued existence. If you want to survive in the jungle, prove your worth to me. Then Luo realized he couldn't tell Liu about that. Sarah said he is so unusual. He has been marked by her magic spell. If they notify the company, they'll still be able to track him down. We won't let him run away. Luo said don't forget that the entire game system was designed by him. He knows all the advancement requirements and the skills of all the professions clearly. But if we work together now, we might be able to finish him off. Once he has time to recover, they may not be able to find him even if they notify Liu Daolong. If Liu Daolong knew that we couldn't even deal with a level 12 monster, there would be no place left for us in the jungle. Moreover, he was the one who proposed the development of Helen butterflies. His targets are the Helen butterflies. We've just been caught in the crossfire. The eucalyptus tree realm is his real target. We'll definitely meet him again as soon as we find the eucalyptus tree altar. Luo was thinking they couldn't let this opportunity pass. Lin was thinking he must kill them in the jungle. A few days later, they reached the eucalyptus tree realm. They were using crystals in the four corners of the tree so that they can build the barrier. Sarah used her magic spell and built the barrier. She was fully exhausted and said the barrier formation was fully set. So even if he has the ability to fly and become invisible, there was no way for him to escape from that area. However, the magical aura of the mark left on his body is getting fainter and fainter. He's growing harder to catch. Luo held Sarah and said it's just a crossbow's last arrow. With his current level of strength, there's still a chance that he'll continue to cause trouble secretly. However, if they find him, there'll be no room for him to do anything. Lin Chan and the Tree Realm's altar are both here. If they find him again, there'll be absolutely no way for him to escape. Then the scene shifts to Lin. He thought he had been fighting with those guys using guerrilla warfare tactics for a few days now. But he still hadn't found the altar. Using the mushroom to survey the distribution of monsters in the valley, and then pretending to be a human and attacking the monster camps, provoking a fight between the monster and Luo and the others. Lin has repeated this method several times, but once they're prepared, it's basically impossible to hurt them. With the spiritual pet masters catching the movements of the goblins' brigade, the mages providing healing, and the warrior archers clearing the field, it's fair to say that they make a fully armored brave team that is almost invincible in this jungle. As long as they don't clash with General Goblin, they can completely clear the Valley of Monsters. After all, the upper limit of the level of the monsters here isn't that high. Moreover, as they defeated the goblins and the jungle monster, the mages set up their magic formations, narrowing the area he could hide into the area around the eucalyptus tree. Fortunately, that spiritual spine tree has magical qualities that can mask marking magic. Even though Lin has advanced to level 13, he can't do anything against a team. After some time, Mushroom found the altar. Lin was excited and said it's time for the decisive battle. Finally, Sarah found Lin. Luo said let's go, it's only so far. He must have found the entrance to the tree realm and commanded everyone to follow him and said we must kill him this time. Lin was also going towards them. He said with all this commotion, it's going to be the final battle this time. He was mobilizing the monsters in the jungle to create a massive disturbance, stirring up chaos across the entire region. And thus, this chapter draws to a close. Stay tuned to discover what unfolds next in the story. In the meantime, why not explore my other videos? Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more captivating stories. Your support means the world to me.